People in the village of Akiki always said Oma had the brightest smile. Her laughter could fill a whole compound, her voice soft like morning songs of birds. She was just a little Igbo girl, thin but lively, always running around barefoot chasing after her two brothers, Kalu and Kachi. But life had never been kind to her parents. They were poor, so poor that sometimes supper was nothing more than boiled cassava and palm oil. Her father tried his best working on other people's farms. Her mother sold vegetables on market days, but it was never enough. When Oma turned 10, her parents had a heavy talk. They looked at her and looked at her brothers. They could not train all of them. Hunger was biting every day. So her father carried her to his elder sister, Aunty Chioma, who also lived in Akiki, but closer to the big market. Aunty Chioma sold vegetables, just like Oma's mother, but she was stronger, better in business, and married to a man called Ndubusi. The plan was simple. Oma would live with her auntie, help her in the house and market, and in return her auntie would take care of her like a daughter. When Oma grew up and started earning money, she could also help her younger brothers go to school. At first, Oma thought it was the best gift life had given her. In her auntie's house, food was never scarce. There was always soup in the pot, yam in the basket, and vegetables ready to be cooked. Her auntie was strict but fair. She would wake Oma very early in the morning to sweep the compound, wash plates, and then they would both walk to the market. Oma learned quickly how to arrange vegetables, how to call customers, and how to smile so people would buy. At night, even though she was tired, she felt grateful because her stomach was full. But all of that peace ended one night. Her auntie had gone to a meeting in the women's group. Ndubusi, her auntie's husband, was at home. He had always looked at Oma strangely, but she never understood why. That night, after supper, he called her into his room. Oma thought maybe he wanted her to help bring water. She walked in with her small feet, only to meet a trap she could not escape. His eyes were red, his voice low and dangerous. He locked the door and whispered to her, "If you ever tell anybody, I will kill you. Your auntie will never believe you." Oma trembled like a leaf in the rain. She was only 12, a few days left to become 13. She did not even understand what was happening until it was too late. The pain, the fear, the shame all swallowed her small body. She wanted to scream, but his heavy hand covered her mouth. That night, her laughter died. When Aunty Chioma came back, Oma wanted to run to her, to cry out the truth, but Ndubusi's warning echoed in her head. "Kill you. Nobody will believe you." She kept quiet. Days passed, then weeks. Each time she saw him, she shivered. Each time he passed by her, she lowered her eyes. Her auntie never noticed. Then the sickness came. Oma began to vomit every morning. She felt weak, dizzy, tired. At first, her auntie thought it was malaria. She gave her herbs. She shouted at her for being lazy. But when the sickness did not stop, they took her to the village health center. The nurse examined her, then looked at her with shock. "This girl is pregnant," she said. The world collapsed on Oma's head. Her auntie shouted so loudly that the whole street gathered. "Pregnant? Pregnant at 12? What kind of child is this? So you had been sleeping around instead of helping me in the market?" Oma fell on her knees. Tears rushed out of her eyes. "Auntie, it is not me. It was Uncle Ndubusi. He forced me. He told me not to talk." Her voice cracked with pain. But her auntie slapped her so hard her ears rang. "Liar! How dare you accuse my husband? So you bring shame to my house and you want to destroy my marriage too? Leave. Pack your things and go back to your parents." The villagers whispered, shook their heads, but nobody fought for Oma. She carried her small bag, with tears soaking her dress, and walked back to her parents' house. She had thought living with her auntie would save her. Instead, it became her nightmare. When she entered her mother's hut, her mother was washing bitter leaf. Her mother looked up, surprised to see her. Then she saw the swollen eyes, the broken spirit. "Oma, why are you back?" Oma could not speak. She only cried. Aunty Chioma had sent a message already. By the time her father returned from the farm, the news was in the air. Their daughter was pregnant at 12. Her parents were crushed. Her mother shouted in anger, "What disgrace is this? Oma, you went there to train, not to misbehave. Who is the father?" "I don't know him," Oma whispered. She could not bring herself to say Nyebusi's name again, not after what happened at her auntie's house. Her mother wailed. Her father sat down quietly, burying his face in his hands. For days their hut was full of sorrow. People mocked them. Women in the stream pointed fingers. Children whispered. Poverty had already made them suffer, now shame was added. But one morning, after so many tears, Oma's heart broke again. She could not bear her mother's anger anymore. She went to her quietly and said, "Mommy, I did not misbehave. It was Nyebusi, Auntie Chioma's husband. He forced me. He told me not to talk." Her mother froze. She stared into Oma's wet eyes and saw truth there. She ran to tell her husband. Her father with trembling hands went to confront his sister. But Chioma and Nyebusi denied everything. Chioma shouted that Oma was a liar. Nyebusi swore on his father's grave. Oma's father returned home, weak and helpless. He wanted to fight, but he had no power, no evidence, no strength. That evening he sat with his wife and said, "This is our child. Whether guilty or innocent, she is still ours. We will take care of her. It will not be easy, but we cannot throw her away." Those words changed everything. Oma wiped her tears. She felt her parents' pain, but also their love. If they chose to support her, then she had to be strong. She told herself she would not allow this shame to end her life. The months that followed were full of suffering. Pregnancy was not easy for a grown woman, how much more for a small girl? Her stomach grew, her back ached, morning sickness returned again and again. Still, she forced herself to work. At dawn, she would fetch water from the stream, balancing the heavy clay pot on her head. She would go into the bush to gather firewood. She would sweep, cook, and clean. Sometimes her body collapsed and she laid down with tears in her eyes. Her mother would come and say, "Rest, my child, rest." But after a while, Oma would rise again, saying, "I will not let this bring me down." Everywhere she went, whispers followed her. Some mocked her, some pitied her. But inside her heart, Oma began to build a wall of determination. She said to herself again and again, "This is not the life I want. I will fight. I will win." And so, though she was just 13, though her body was weak, though her soul was wounded, Oma began to search for ways to survive. Her story of pain was only beginning, but deep inside her, the fire of victory had already started to burn. The cries of a baby were yet to be heard in Oma's small hut, but her struggles had already multiplied. Morning sickness was one thing, but hunger was another. Her parents were poor before. Now, with her pregnancy, poverty seemed to tighten its grip on them. Each day began the same. Before the first cock crow, Oma would rise from her raffia mat. Her stomach was heavy, her legs swollen, but she refused to let weakness hold her down. She tied her wrapper firmly and carried a pot to the stream. The distance was far, the road rough, but she pressed on. When the pot was filled, she lifted it onto her head. The load pressed into her neck, water dripping down her arms, yet she walked carefully until she reached home. She would drop the pot and then go back again for more, sometimes twice or thrice before sunrise. After water, she would go to the bush with a cutlass. Firewood was not easy to gather, but she needed it for cooking and sometimes to sell. She would return with her head full of scratches from thorns, her palms red with blisters. Then she would sweep the compound, cook food for her brothers, wash plates, and prepare soup for her parents. Sometimes the sickness came like a storm. She would vomit until her stomach felt empty, then collapse on the mat. Her mother would say, "Oma, rest, do not kill yourself." But Oma's answer was always the same, "Mummy, I will not let this bring me down." She would wipe her face and continue. Her parents watched with tears in their eyes. They felt helpless, but they also felt proud. Their daughter, though only 13, was showing a kind of strength even adults did not have. But Oma's mind was restless. She thought about the coming baby. Who would pay for the hospital? Who would buy baby clothes? How would they survive? She knew her parents could not manage it alone, so she began to look for ways to make money. One morning, she tied her headscarf and went from house to house. She knocked on the doors of old men and women in the village. "Please," she said politely, "do you need me to sweep your compound? I can fetch water, I can cut firewood, I can cook. If you give me small money, I will be grateful." At first, people looked at her with pity. "But you are pregnant, little girl. Go home and rest." But Oma's persistence melted hearts. Slowly, some of them agreed. She would sweep their compounds until the brooms broke in her hands. She would fetch buckets of water, climb hills, walk long paths. She would cook porridge for the old women, wash clothes for the blind men, and at the end of the day, they would give her a few coins. It was not much, but it was something. Oma began to gather the coins in a small calabash under her mat. She called it her hope money. From it, she would buy soap, salt, or sometimes give her mother a little to buy vegetables for the family. One old woman named Mama Ijeoma was very fond of Oma. Whenever Oma came to cook or clean for her, she would shake her head and say, "Child, don't you know you are too young for all this stress? You are carrying a baby. You need rest." Oma would smile weakly. "Mama, I did not bargain for this, but I will not let this bring me down." The old woman would sigh and sometimes give her extra food to carry home. Her younger brother, Kalu, began to notice how Oma was bringing small money home. He was only 10, but he admired his sister. One day he said, "Sister Oma, let me follow you. I can fetch water too. I can cut firewood." At first, Oma refused. "No, Kalu, you are still small. Stay home." But Kalu was stubborn. He followed her secretly one morning, carried a bundle of firewood on his back, and nearly fell. Oma scolded him, but inside her heart, she was touched. From then, the two of them worked together. With the little they gathered, they saved enough to buy a small basket of vegetables. Oma knew how to sell vegetables because of her time with her auntie in the market. She taught her mother better ways to arrange them, how to smile at customers, how to reduce prices a little to attract people. Slowly, her mother's small vegetable trade began to grow. The hut that once had only sorrow began to breathe small hope again. When her time of delivery came, the labor was long and hard. People feared for her life because she was still a child. But Oma fought with all her strength. At last, the baby cried a strong, healthy boy. Oma named him Ugo, meaning pride. She looked into his tiny face and whispered, "You will not be my shame. You will be my pride." Though the baby brought joy, he also brought new burdens. Milk, clothes, medicine, everything cost money. Oma's body was still weak from childbirth, but she did not rest long. Just a few weeks later, she was back on her feet, tying Ugo on her back and going to work. Villagers were surprised. Some admired her courage, others mocked her. But Oma ignored them. She said to herself again and again, "This is not the end of my life. I will not remain here forever. I will find a way out." Her chance came one morning when she was 14. She had been thinking for days, restless, unable to sleep. She looked at her son and then at her parents. Poverty was still heavy. The little vegetable business helped, but it was not enough. She wanted more. She wanted a future. So she told her mother, "Mummy, I want to go to the city." Her mother's eyes widened. "The city? You are only a child. How will you survive? Do you want to get lost? Do you want strangers to harm you?" "Mummy," Oma said firmly, "if I stay here, I will die poor. I cannot help you. I cannot help my brothers. I cannot raise Ugo well. I need to try. I need to fight for a better life." Her father said nothing for a long time. Then he sighed and said, "If her heart is strong, let her go. But Oma, promise me one thing. Never forget where you come from. Never forget us." Her mother wept bitterly the morning Oma left. She packed only one small bag, kissed her baby Ugo again and again, and handed him to her mother. "Take care of him for me. I will come back for him one day." Her brothers clung to her dress, crying. Kalu begged, "Don't go, sister." But Oma untangled his hands gently. "I must go, Kalu. I am doing this for all of us. Be strong." The sun was rising when she stepped out of the village. She did not know exactly where she was going, but her heart was full of determination. She walked the dusty road until she reached the nearby city. She was only 14, thin and small, yet her spirit carried her forward like a lion. In the city, the streets were crowded, noisy, and strange. Oma's stomach rumbled, her legs shook, but she did not give up. She saw a large supermarket and entered. Inside was a woman arranging goods. Oma went straight to her, her voice trembling but bold. "Madam, please, I can cook, I can clean, I can wash, I can do all sorts of jobs. Please employ me. I will never steal from you. I will give you my best." The woman looked at her with surprise. She had never seen such a small girl speak with so much courage. The woman's name was Madame Ruth. She owned both the supermarket and a big house. She studied Oma for a while, then said, "I don't need workers here, but I need a house help. Will you come?" At that moment, Oma did not think about dangers. She did not ask if the woman was good or evil. All she thought of was survival. She nodded quickly. "Yes, madam, I will come." And so Oma's new life began. She worked in Madame Ruth's house, sweeping, cooking, washing, scrubbing floors until her fingers were raw. She was given food to eat and a small place to sleep. At night, though her body ached, she whispered to herself, "This is better. At least I'm on the way." In the mornings, after finishing her chores, she would follow Madame Ruth to the supermarket and help arrange items. Though young, Oma worked with so much energy and honesty that customers noticed her. She was different. One afternoon, a rich customer forgot her purse in the supermarket. It was loaded with cash. Oma found it while cleaning. She could have taken the money and disappeared, but her heart was clean. She took it straight to Madame Ruth. Later, the customer returned frantic. When she saw her purse intact, she was shocked. She counted the money. Everything was complete. "This girl is honest," Madame Ruth said proudly. She told the woman it was Oma who found it. The woman, amazed, gave Oma some money as thanks. Oma sent part of it home to her parents and saved the rest. Little by little, her savings grew. Soon, Madame Ruth, touched by Oma's years rolled by like the turning of pages in a book. Oma was no longer the little girl of Akiki who had once walked the village path with tears on her face. She had grown into a strong young woman, though her heart still carried the scars of her past. Every scar had shaped her determination. Every pain had pushed her forward. Life in Madame Ruth's house was not easy, but it was steady. Oma worked from morning till night, scrubbing floors, cooking, washing clothes, taking care of Madame Ruth's children, and sometimes standing long hours at the supermarket. But she never complained. She saw each day as a step closer to the life she dreamed of. School was the second part of her struggle. Every morning after chores, she would carry her bag and walk quickly to the little school nearby. She sat in class with other children, many of them younger than her, but she held her head high. Sometimes they mocked her. See that house help? She is too old to be here." But Oma ignored them. She knew why she was there. She was not in school to impress anybody. She was there to build her future. Homework was done late at night when everyone else in Madame Ruth's house was asleep. She would light a lantern, place her book on her lap, and read until her eyes could not stay open. Her body ached from the day's work, but her spirit refused to rest. She whispered to herself often, "Oma, remember where you came from. Remember your son. Remember your parents. You must not fail." As the years passed, she completed her secondary school. Madame Ruth, impressed with her determination and honesty, supported her further. "You are like a daughter to me, Oma," she said one day. "You deserve more. I will help you register for part-time university classes." Oma almost cried. She never thought university would be possible. She worked during the day, and in the evenings she attended lectures. The classrooms were filled with students who had better clothes, better food, better families. But Oma carried herself with dignity. She studied hard. She was not the best, but she passed her exams with good grades. Still, she never forgot her family. Whenever she gathered some money, she sent part of it home. Her mother's vegetable business grew little by little. Her father, though still a poor farmer, smiled more often. Her brothers, Kalu and Kachi, were now in school, their books and fees partly paid from Oma's sacrifice. And Ugo, her son, was growing fast. Oma missed him every day. She longed to hold him, to hear him laugh. But she knew leaving him with her parents was the best choice for now. She was fighting for a future where he would never suffer what she had suffered. By the time Oma graduated from the university, she had already become a woman of courage and wisdom. She applied for jobs in the city, and because of her experience with Madame Ruth's supermarket, she was quickly employed by a company. For the first time in her life, she earned a salary that was more than just coins. With her first salary, she traveled back to Akiki. Her parents were shocked to see her arrive in neat clothes, her face shining with confidence. Her brothers ran to her, hugging her tightly. Ugo clung to her waist, calling "Mama" again and again. Tears filled Oma's eyes as she lifted him up. "My son, my pride," she whispered. That night, she gave her father and mother envelopes with money. "This is just the beginning," she said. "From now on, poverty will not rule this house." True to her word, Oma began to support them fully. She moved her family to the city so they could enjoy better opportunities. She paid for her brother's schooling. She set up a bigger vegetable business for her mother. Slowly, their life transformed. Oma rented a modest but comfortable apartment. She enrolled Ugo in a good school, bought him clothes, books, and toys. She gave him the love and care she had been denied at his age. Every time she looked at him, she reminded herself of the promise she made, that he would not be her shame, but her pride. News of Oma's success spread back to Akiki. People who once mocked her now spoke her name with admiration. They told their children, "Learn from Oma. She is strong. She did not allow disgrace to end her life." But not everyone was happy. One day, a surprising visitor appeared at her doorstep. It was Nebusi, her auntie's husband, the man who had stolen her childhood. He was older now, with gray hair and a bent back. His eyes were full of guilt. He knelt before her and said, "Oma, forgive me. I was foolish. I have carried this shame for years. Please return my son to me. He is my blood." Oma looked at him with steady eyes. Her heart beat fast, but her voice was firm. "You are not his father. You lost that right the day you hurt me. Ugo is my son, and he will bear my father's name. He will never know you as his father." Nudbusi wept, but Oma turned away. She had forgiven him in her heart so that she could heal, but she would never hand over her son. Ugo belonged with her and her family. As time passed, Oma rose higher in her career. She saved money, built a small house for her parents in the city, and made sure her brothers had opportunities she never had. Kalu later became a teacher. Kachi trained to be an engineer. Their successes were rooted in Oma's sacrifice. Ugo grew up into a brilliant young boy. Whenever people saw him, they said he had his mother's smile and his mother's courage. Oma told him stories of her life, not to make him sad, but to make him understand the power of determination. She always ended with the same words. "Son, never let hardship break you. Stand tall, fight hard, and you will always win." Oma also gave back to her community. She visited Akiki often, carrying gifts for widows, food for the poor, and school materials for children. She told young girls, "Do not give up, no matter what happens to you. Life can push you down, but you must rise again." In time, she became known not just as Oma the survivor, but Oma the winner. People used her story to encourage others. Mothers told their daughters, "Look at Oma. If she can rise from shame to glory, you can too." Teachers told their students, "Study hard like Oma did, and you will succeed." Her life had moved from darkness to light, from sorrow to joy. She had carried the weight of shame at 13, but by the time she was a grown woman, she had turned that shame into strength. On her 27th birthday, her family gathered in the new house she had built. Her parents were gray-haired but healthy. Her brothers stood proudly beside her. Her son, Ugo, now a teenager, surprised her with a birthday cake. As she blew out the candles, she closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, God, for bringing me this far." That night, as everyone sang and danced, her mother held her hands and said, "Oma, my child, you are truly the winner. Poverty could not hold you. Shame could not bury you. You have lifted this family from the dust." Oma smiled, tears shining in her eyes. She looked around at her family, her son, her home. She remembered the days she carried wood fire while pregnant, the nights she studied by lantern light, the mornings she walked into the unknown city. Every pain had led to this moment. Her story was no longer just hers. It was the story of every girl who had ever been told she would never rise. It was proof that determination could turn sorrow into success. And so Oma's name lived on, not just in Akiki, but far beyond. Oma, the girl who was once broken, had become Oma the winner. Moral of the story? Determination leads to success. No matter the pain or shame, if you refuse to give up, you will always find your victory.